Welcome to the warm-up exercise for the YMI podcast called The Fantasy Restaurant. In here, my guests get to pick their favorite drink, appetizer, main, side, and dessert. Anything goes. Spencer is by far the most articulate guest we've had in the Fantasy Restaurant. He's a fellow lover of food, and as the kids say, I'm here for this. The Fantasy Restaurant is usually a Patreon-only exclusive, and if you go to patreon.com/YMIpod, you'll find it there. So pop over, throw $1 at me, and become part of the community. Now enjoy this meal with Spencer. Spencer, thank you for joining me in the Fantasy Restaurant today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for taking my reservation.
Well, whether you knew it or not, it was always fated to happen. So this reservation's been waiting for you for quite a while. So
that's what they said over the phone. I was like, I don't know.
I know. They called you, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's your time. Your time has come. All right. Well, the Fantasy Restaurant is just that, right? So I'm going to ask you a bunch of different things, and they could be foods you remember from your childhood, something your grandma used to make, something you cook for yourself. It could be from your favorite restaurant, or you know what? It could be from your favorite fantasy novel or movie or whatever. Like, none of this has to make any sense except for to you. I'm going to start you out with your drink. What drink are you going to have in the Fantasy Restaurant?
Okay. Well, I don't know. I was thinking that some of my stuff might be inspired by Brazilian churrascarias. I don't know how you say that. But in that vein, certainly the first thing that comes to mind is a beverage called Guarana Antarctica, which is a guarana flavored beverage. It tastes a little bit like Sprite and a little fruity. It's kind of like it tastes a little bit like Monster energy drink. If you've ever had Monster, and it's like, what is this flavor? Because Monster has a lot of guarana extract. It apparently used to be really bad and really bitter. But like in the early 1900s, someone was like, wait a second, we can make this good. And they changed the formula. And man, I've had it. They have it other places too, but I've found it most readily in like Brazilian steakhouses. And it's just this really good kind of fruity kind of soda.
So guarana, is that supposed to be like a kind of a pick-me-up? Is that like supposed to make you energized, or is it just all the caffeine they usually pump into those beverages?
Well, it is caffeinated. That's the thing. But it's just from a different source than most caffeine, I guess. So, like, yeah, I think in energy drinks you find caffeine, taurine, and guarana extract. And I think all of those technically are just caffeine. They just are taken from different sources. So, yeah, guarana extract. It's just this little berry. I think it looks a bit like a cranberry a little bit, but I think it's a darker color, and I don't know if it's on a tree or what, but yeah, it's a very they're apparently very bitter, but in the soda they've taken that out, I guess.
I'm absolutely surprised this wasn't some flavor of Mountain Dew. I really highly anticipated it.
Yeah, I was thinking, but that was just the first thing that popped in my head, and then I was like, wait, well, what about Mountain Dew? And then I was like trying to compare, and I was like, what about this Mountain Dew, that one? I'm like, nah, I kind of just want the guarana.
What if Mountain Dew did a flavor of Guarana Antarctica?
I think delete this episode. we need to go straight to the source. No, that sounds great. I like you said that, and I'm like, I gotta tweet this to Mountain Dew. We can get something going.
All right, we can make that happen. We've got kind of like the Mountain Dew test kitchen right across the street, so we'll pop over there, get something together.
Good.
All right. So now I'm going to move you on to the appetizer section, where I feel the most adventuresome. Oftentimes, like I'll venture out a little bit more. I don't know about you. Like, what do you usually do for an appetizer, or what are you going to do for an appetizer in the Fantasy Restaurant, I should say?
Well, yeah, usually I don't go for appetizers just because, like, price-wise, it could really inflate the budget. And also, I eat alone a lot. So I don't, like, when I go to restaurants, I'm usually by myself. So it's not like I'm sharing that among people. You know, it's like, I'm going to eat this whole appetizer plate and then a whole entree or whatever. You know, when I was a kid, we used to go kick it at the IHOP or the Denny's in town. But my friends were all hooligans and stuff, and they'd cause problems. And I'm like, I don't want to be in this situation. I don't want to be associated with these issues, and so it kind of like drove me away from like dining with other people. And I often, not always, but I often prefer just eating at restaurants by myself, which people say is weird, but yeah, but like I do like, like you were saying, appetizers can be pretty adventurous, and you can get some interesting stuff. But I think if it's like my fantasy meal or whatever, I think I'd have to go with just wings, which are often on an appetizer platter, maybe like some sort of Brussels sprout. But I think I want to go with wings, like a Korean or Asian style kind of sauce or seasoning, where it's got like kind of teriyaki notes and a little bit of funk to it, not just straight like buffalo, which buffalo's great, but when I'm really thinking about wings, I'm thinking of like very specific Korean fried chicken wings usually.
Man, and like I see wings pretty common on appetizer menus here as well, but it's always like, it's so dangerous because it could be like 15 giant wings, and it's like, I know I'm going to eat these things. So like, am I going to even have room left for my food once it gets here? So it's always, well, describe the perfect wing. So some people are like breaded, some are just like really like crispy skin. Like in your perfect scenario, what's the perfect wing like?
Yeah, I think if it's really perfect, it is like just that, like kind of, I don't know if they put cornstarch or just leave it alone, but it is just the skin being so crispy, it gets like to a fried consistency. Like Korean fried chicken is like breaded and double fried. And so it's super crunchy and crispy, but which is great. Don't get me wrong. I love all forms of fried chicken, but when I'm thinking of the platonic ideal of wing, it's just that skin is so crispy and hard without, and also that's one of the problems with wings is like, they never turn out like that, or like, especially with takeout and stuff, you get them just a little bit, a couple minutes late, and they've already like sogged up. Or a lot of places with wings, they never even get to that level of crispness anyway, And it's like, man, this is what I'm here for, is this really crisp kind of skin. And when I don't get it, it's like, man, this was almost like just a complete waste.
It is. I mean, there is like the window of opportunity on a perfect wing is like very narrow, right? It goes from like melting the skin on your gums to like soggy. I mean, there's like this tiny little window, but for this meal, every wing that you pick up will be that perfect temperature. So don't worry about it. We've got a little heater right here, so it's kind of keeping everything at the perfect temperature. And also maybe like a dehydrator so that it won't get soggy. I don't know. I don't know the technology. I don't have to. I'm just kind of the waiter at this place.
Yeah, it's magic or fantastic.
All right. Well, at a lot of restaurants, there's this kind of weird sort of interstitial period I like to call the bread/salad/soup portion. Do you want any of that? Do you want none of that? Like, what's it going to be?
Yeah, I think I don't know. There's one of the best steakhouses I've ever been, which I'm not a connoisseur of steakhouses. I don't know if this place is actually good relative to other places, but one of the best steakhouses I've ever been. They had like a bread basket that's like a variety of bread. So there's like a really crispy, kind of crusty one. There's more of an Italian bread. There's and then my favorite is always like the kind of Swedish brown bread, not Swedish, but sweet brown bread.
Tastes sweet.
yeah. And then also like there's a pretzel roll in that basket. And so man, that I mean, it's a steakhouse, but that bread is like one of my favorite parts of the whole meal, because it's like, I'm just gonna eat all of this bread, and it's all different breads, and it's great, and there's really good butter. But yeah, I think the brown bread would probably be my pick, especially if you got butter. They have that at Outback Steakhouse too, really good bread.
Oh yeah. So when I picture breads, I like the fresh loaf to come out, like it's still hot and they've got the knife stuck in it or whatever. You get to cut it yourself. I like a little DIY, a little carpentry when I eat my meals. But butter, I'm very much a room temperature person. How about you?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And at Outback, it's usually pretty soft, and so you get the butter, and I think it comes in like a little plastic tub or whatever, and I'm just like jamming it in, just getting a bunch of butter all over the place. But yeah, like it's hard to what do you call it? Ration your butter equally, because you really have to do a lot of quick math to figure it out. But when you got a lot of like an obscene amount of butter on bread, it's really nice in like a restaurant setting.
Yeah. So are you regular butter, salted butter, or honey butter, or all of the above?
I'd say, I like honey butter, don't get me wrong, but I think I'm
Yeah.
more of like a salted butter kind of
Yeah.
guy. Or, and even sometimes you get salted butter, I'll put more salt on it or something. Like salty butter is just really solid.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where it's at, man. My man. My man. All right. So we're gonna move on to the main. What are you getting as your main dish?
Oh, okay. I think it's gotta be. I think it's gotta just. Oh, also bread wise, potato. There's the Brazilian freaking cheese bread. That stuff's really good. It's made with tapioca flour. Very strange, interesting, good consistency. Anyway, back to the. But I think for the meat, I think it's gotta be, again, Brazilian is picanha, which is like a cut of top sirloin, but it's cut in a certain way. It's, I think, a relatively wasteful cut in terms of how the typical Western approach is to meat, because like the top sirloin's a pretty big cut, and the picanha is kind of just taking the top of that, and so you're left with kind of like half of a top sirloin cut that doesn't have like the regular fat distribution. But what they do is they curl it on the skewer, and so it looks kind of like the shape of a kidney bean almost, and then the fat is like on the outside, and it gets really crusty and crispy and rendered, and it's that's the best. Like if you go to a Brazilian steakhouse, that's, to me, like they have filet and stuff too, but to me the picanha is like really the showstopper. So getting some of that, I think, is the ideal.
So all the Brazilian steak restaurants I've been to it's like you've got like a little, like just like there's a little card and there's guys who walk around and like you flip it. It's like, give me some more of that. Is that what we're talking about? That kind of a setting?
Yeah, sometimes they have that, or you could just order like off the menu as well. But and I would just take the whole cut of meat or whatever. But the great thing about the Brazilian steakhouses is that I like the crust of steak a lot, like the char. And so, you can take a couple pieces and then they'll go and put it back on the fire or whatever, and then bring it around again. And it's like, now I got, now I'll take a couple more pieces and get more crust. That's like my favorite part. I mean, yeah, I haven't been in probably since the whole pandemic, but man, that's the freaking best. It's expensive though. But, I hear it. There's other places where it's not expensive, but just in LA, food's just, restaurants are pretty expensive.
I've been to LA once and I remember, it being pretty pricey. I remember the portions being really small. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, is that just like in Texas? Like we just gigantic portions, or is it just some strange bubble around LA where they just give you less food?
Well, if those are your points of comparison, then yeah, it's LA is small and Texas is big. Like if you're in other states, like you'd still be all like, wow, this is bigger than, like LA portions, but it's not going to be as big as like a Texas portion, I believe. Like it's all, that's what's so great about like Southern food and stuff, is they'll really go nuts and give you a lot and not charge you a lot. It's it's great. Other states are amazing. I mean, even New York has pretty good portion sizes for the price. Like it's almost cheaper to buy like restaurant food than it is to buy like takeout and stuff than it is to like buy groceries in New York, in my experience at least.
Nice. All right. So we've got the picanha, right? So we've got the nice cut of meat. Do you actually want it delivered on the skewer and everything?
I could go either way. I mean, I'll eat the whole thing, so it doesn't have to be on the skewer.
Well, I mean, I want the atmosphere to be right. Presentation is important.
Yeah, well, if it's just one entree, then yeah, I think it's fine to just have like a steak of it as opposed to sliced.
All right, rock and roll. What are you gonna pair as a side with this meal?
Yeah, I think of the side, it's like, it's got to be Brussels sprouts. Like Brussels sprouts, when they're done well, are so good, but then a lot of places are not good at doing them. They've become really trendy, and as a result, like people are just flinging any old thing against the wall and calling it Brussels sprouts. But man,
all right. Well, what's the ideal way to prepare it then?
Well, you could do better than this. The best one I've went is a restaurant that was called Tasty and Alder in Portland. I don't know if it's still operating, but I think they would fry them. Which gets all the leaves kind of wilted and brown and crisp, and then they would have like kind of like a teriyaki or balsamic-y sauce with like a bit of fish sauce in it, which it doesn't taste like fish, but the umami just really pops. But that's probably the best one I've ever had. But I'll try Brussels sprouts. There's like foods like macaroni and cheese and Brussels sprouts and lemonades and stuff that almost anywhere I see them, I'll try them just because like everything has its own offering. And even if it's bad, it's like interesting to see what's going on, what their approach is, But Brussels sprouts are often a bummer. But I've been going to Red Lobster lately because I'm on like a coconut shrimp kick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, man, I don't know. They do a really good Brussels sprouts. It's not quite as crisp as the one at Tasty and Alder, but it does have like crispness on it on the outside, and then the inside is more soft. But it's just like, if Red Lobster can really knock it out of the park with Brussels sprouts, then like what is like a LA gastropub doing wrong? Because it's like, come on, it's not impossible. They must be able to do this on a mass scale, across the country.
I mean, our Red Lobster closed down like right at the start of the pandemic, but I used to like getting their coconut shrimp, and they have that like dipping sauce. So like, if there wasn't enough coconut for you, get the coconut dipping sauce. I used to love smacking my Cheddar Bay biscuits in there. I don't know, just kind of like the salty and cheesiness with the sweet of that sauce. Dude, it was so good together.
Yeah, maybe change the bread to Cheddar Bay biscuits, actually. Those are pretty good.
Dude, those are so good. Oh my gosh. Have you ever, they have like a mix you can get and bring it home and like make it yourself, right?
Yeah, when I was younger, I saw that mix like at Walmart because it was one of those things that was right when you come in. There's like those shelves that are like, hey, check this out. And I would just always see that. But that was like before I ever went to Red Lobster. So like I would, I was like, I wonder what this is. But like now it's like, man, why don't we get some of that stuff? It was on like sale and stuff. But I don't know. Somehow I skipped Red Lobster until like 5 years or less ago, and I've been like, man, it's coconut shrimp. It's really
Dude, it's so good, and their shrimp always tastes like fresh. Like even like in the middle of the country, like I don't know, it just tastes good.
And I don't even like shrimp very much. I don't hate shrimp, but like anything fishy, any seafood, I kind of it's not my preference. But yeah, coconut shrimp is the best.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, for sure. All right. Well, arguably the most important part of the meal coming up, it's going to be the dessert. So I've watched a lot of your mukbang videos on your Patreon, but I don't think I've watched you eat any dessert yet.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Dessert's another thing. I don't know. I have weird tastes with like restaurants because it's like, okay, I'm spending money, so where can I not spend money? So a lot of times, like if it's fast food, I won't get fries because it's like I don't need to spend the money on fries. It's like, oh, I'll just get the sandwich or something. And dessert's one of those too. But if we're going like fantasy dessert, my first instinct was like a crazy brownie a la mode, but I think I'd prefer like more. I don't know if you've ever had. It's not super common, but like it's a butter cake or a gooey butter cake. Is really crazy. There's like this very specific dish that's like I don't know where it's from. It's maybe like Georgia or Tennessee or something. That like the rest, or it might even be like Swedish or something. I don't know. It might be another country, like a Nordic country. I'm not sure, but it just has an obscene amount of butter in it, and it kind of just like on some level it's kind of just yellow cakey or white cakey, but like the texture is really gooey and it's kind of like a brownie in the sense that it's kind of this gel as opposed to this like risen baked good,
right,
and it's sometimes they're served with like fruit, berries or something like that, but it's so good. It's so good.
So something we do here, I don't think it's traditional everywhere, but we do something called a dump cake. Have you ever tried one of those?
Yeah, I've had a couple of those. Those are the ones where you don't really mix them, right?
Yeah. So you take fruit and you like line the bottom of the like your pan, like your baking dish with fruit, and then you just take like a plain cake mix and you just dump it on top. And then here we put like a 1/4-inch layer of butter across the entire thing. And then you just throw it in the oven and let it bake for like ever. And it is like the most buttery, delicious. And then that butter makes it get like that crispness on top, but then it's just all soft inside. And then, my days, it's so good.
That seems like something I should find like not fine, but I should like perfect a recipe for, because when there's something that's like, oh man, I want to make it, I like try a bunch of recipes and figure out like what's the one I'm going to go with moving forward. And if I had that in my roster, I think that could do a lot of good.
I don't know, man. Like, I think as much as like it would be cool to do that, it's like I don't know that like your cholesterol can survive like the scientific process on that. Like, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, like I go on like baking kicks where I'll make like a whole batch of cookies and eat them all myself, or I'll make like a whole pan of brownies and eat it all myself. And it's like those are, I'm not gonna say they're bad times, because it's not like, oh, I'm depressed, I gotta go eat a whole cake or whatever. But man, it's not sustainable, but it's so good. It's so good.
Like like I can eat it like an entire pie. Like for me, I will crush a pie by myself in 2 days. 2 days max, I'm gonna say. And I always feel amazing. Like afterwards, like it releases all those good chemicals in my brain. Like I just feel great. So
yeah, when I eat a whole like batch of cookies or a whole pan of brownies, it definitely makes me feel bad. But even when I'm feeling bad, I'm like, this was great. This was what needed to happen.
All right. Well, are you ready for me to read your order back? Because I want to make sure I didn't screw anything up.
Sure, yeah. All
right, man. So we're going to do a Mountain Dew version of Guarana Antarctica, right? And sure, so is this like full of ice, or is it like just the beverage cold? Like, I don't know where you're at on that.
Yeah, I like a cold can. You know, I don't really like ice. It's not like I'll never touch it, but I prefer just like a fridge can of soda or something, you know, and I'll usually finish it before it has a chance to warm up at all.
Okay. Well, and also the waiter, the instant he sees like the temperature starting to approach danger levels on your drink, he'll just swap it out. You won't even see him. He'll be like a ninja. Then we're going to do the wings. We're going to do them Korean style. And you said Korean style. You like those like double fried, right? Battered double fried?
Yeah, but I think if it's being optimal, that's just more of a sauce thing, and it's like the crispy skin and not a lot of like batter.
All right. Well, in that case, we are doing the perfect crispy wings where you bite them, but they're not so hot that they melt your face. But I mean, they are very near it, so it's just like the perfect skin. Then we're gonna do I don't know, what do you want to call it? A bread medley. So we're gonna have a breadly. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so it's every conceivable version of bread. All right there. I kind of picture like almost like a lazy Susan, just full of breads, like a big giant bowl, and you just kind of rifle through, and they're always warm to the touch, and perfect for melting all the butter we have on the table. And I'm imagining we have salted butter, but it's in like a squeezy tube. But you've ever seen like them decorate cakes where they've got the wide nozzle, so it's like, you know, like a nice wide streak of butter. So I'm not fucking around with like knives and stuff. We're just going straight, just bam, just right on there. So it'd be perfect. And then we're gonna get Brazilian steak. Are you like a medium rare kind of guy on the picanha?
See, the thing is, like, I'm like a rare, medium rare guy, but a lot of times at a lot of places, if you order medium rare, like the crust, which is, again, that's my favorite part, is like really undeveloped or underdeveloped. So it kind of depends on the place. Like sometimes I will go like even well done just because it's like, but I need that crust. But
gotcha.
Yeah, I'd say if you could get the crust right, then yeah, definitely medium rare.
We absolutely will. I mean, it's going to be perfection. All right. And then we're going to do Brussels sprouts and probably Tasty and Alder, that style?
Yeah, Tasty and Alder.
All right. And you know what? I know you didn't ask for it, but I'm going to sneak in some Red Lobster coconut shrimp with plenty of sauce. We're actually going to have the sauce available for the breadly, just because we're going to have some Cheddar Bay biscuits as well.
Yeah, surf and turf sort of situation.
Yeah, there you go. And then for dessert, we're going to do the gooey butter cake. So that it's kind of like I've heard of a blondie, which is like, you know, like a kind of a yellow brownie, but it's not quite that. But it's going to be a gooey sort of cake consistency, right?
Yeah, blondie has a bit more of a brown sugar molassesy profile, I want to say. Whereas I don't think you really get any of that. I think it's all like white sugar and like a gooey cake. But I mean, I love a blondie too. Any of these very good stuff. They're desserts. That's why they were invented, to be really good.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Spencer, thank you for joining me in the fantasy restaurant today.
Awesome. Check, please. Right? Is that...
It's on the house every time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. I love how amazingly descriptive you are. Like the words you choose to use with your food is like so precise. Like I love that.
Yeah, one of my earliest sets of books growing up was the Redwall books, and they really go hard with describing food. But I really love food. It's like it's one of the only things that brings me joy, and I love talking about it, and so like when I'm thinking about what I like about it, I think it's like that. Being able to summon that level of precision is like it really gets me going.
I'm fully aroused now. No. I mean, I get it. For me too, like meals, I know you said you like to eat alone, but like when I eat a meal with people, I seldom have a bad time, like as an adult, obviously, like I totally get where you're coming from. All my friends were like,
I'm just
shitheads.
Traumatized. I'm just traumatized. It's fun to eat with people for sure.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's like, also like for me, when I go on vacation is like eating interesting foods in a new place that I've never been, like the surprise of it. Like I love that. So I genuinely love food and love talking about food.
Yeah. When I think about traveling, what I think about is like eating food. When I have traveled in the past, it's like, it becomes an ordeal to like try and settle on something that I can get to and stuff. And sometimes I'm like, I'll just go to 7-Eleven and get a hot dog or something. But, when I'm thinking about travel, like what I'm thinking of is like, okay, I got to find a good place, and then I'll try and line it up beforehand, like figure out a plan, just to see what I can get, because it's like, it's the big opportunity. LA has a lot of good food, but it's just not like other places. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it has this very specific LA style that I think is kind of, it's trying to be cool. And it's like, you're a fucking menu. You don't have to try to be cool, like just give me food. I don't know.
Just be good.
Yeah.